So imagine transforming a basic backyard into a space that not only boosts curb appeal, but also becomes a deciding factor for a tenant choosing your property over maybe the neighboring property. So what specific upgrades delivers the highest returns for landlords and investors? That's coming up next on the DORE Podcast. So welcome back to another episode of the DORE Podcast, where we talk to industry leaders, innovators, local experts shaping Ottawa's real estate and property landscape. I'm your host, Dan Doré, and today we've got a great guest, Griffin Kozij from Kozy Landscaping / Group of Companies. Inside joke, but let's, for now it's Kozy Landscaping. But
Kozy Landscaping, yeah. More than that now, but thank you so much for having me.
It's coming up. So Kozy specializes in landscaping, pool installations, home renovations in the Ottawa region. So bringing your dream home to life with quality craftsmanship and top-tier service. In this episode, we'll explore your business journey, strategies for scaling, smart design for investment properties, and the tools that Griffin uses to stay ahead of the game. So Griffin, let's dive in.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I always like to start these podcasts to try to get a sense, Griffin, like this is for entrepreneurs, and we always like to get a sense of who you are and how you came to be.
Yeah.
So tell us about the journey that leads you into starting Kozy and where you are today. Because from when we met several years ago, even before the podcast, I'm going through this. I'm like, what? You do this now? You do that? You're like,
exactly.
Which is fantastic. Yeah. So give the audience the listener a bit of an idea of how you came to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would go back as far as I was the local little paper boy on the few streets around me, and constantly every week, seeing the same faces, and they started asking me, hey, do you mind doing this outside? Do you mind raking the leaves? So I'll give you $5. And so that slowly morphed into, okay, I can make a little bit of extra money than just delivering the paper. And that morphed, kept getting bigger. Now I'm cutting 10 lawns on the street. Then eventually my biology teacher in high school owned a landscaping company. So talked to him about working in the summers and did that for a few years, and eventually thought, okay, I could make way more money if I do this myself. And so that's really just how it started, going from the kind of technician role into just thinking, having that dream and going from there.
Yeah. And what made you so you started to say, okay, I can do it myself, but what did the next 3 steps look like? Right? Because it doesn't go from there to boom where you're at today.
Exactly.
You bought a vehicle, you got cars. What did that look like?
Yeah, so again, with that paper route, every year I was saving my money, I was getting GICs at the time with a little bit of money I had. And I saved all that up in the bank and bought a truck and just started trying to get the name out there. Started with cutting lawns, and then doing for those same clients, pitching them, we can fix up your yard a bit more. And that eventually morphed, and eventually the lawn cutting went away, and it just started doing those landscape install projects.
Okay.
So I had no business experience, background knowledge. It was really just, let's try to figure out how to get work.
And that's a lot of times that's the way it starts. And obviously, I always say if somebody wants to work, there's always work out there.
There's work out there,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you got a truck, and then because it's so funny because I remember years ago when we started chatting, you did some work for us at DORE Property Management, and you're doing landscaping work, and I recall. And perhaps you can clarify if my recollection is proper, but you had, for the most part, it's seasonal work. So you were looking at taking on renovations in the winter to try to keep the staff going.
Exactly.
And
I did snow removal for that. My boss there that I met in high school did snow removal for a few years for him, and I knew I didn't want my business to do that. It's a lot of work, and it's hard work, but it wasn't something I wanted to take on. So I wanted something else to do in the winters, and always did a lot of renovation work with my dad, and we hired the right guys, and so we went, okay, let's bring some of those aspects in, and then that's how we started our renovation side. We've grown it over the last few years. Now we have someone kind of running that division, and we're running those renovations like fully year round. It's not just that winter kind of, I would tell our clients we go inside to hibernate in the winter.
Yeah.
But now it's a year-round division for us.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, a lot of the guys that do what you do, the seasonal aspect of it, there's always a challenge about keeping your good people.
Yeah.
How do you keep the good people? I mean, the guys that work with you, typically, if they they're let go during the winter, the next thing you know, they may find other jobs or they do something else, or heaven forbids they don't find anything else. Then how do they earn a living, right? So you guys have found a way to do that and beyond. So good for you.
Yeah. It's huge. Like keeping those the staff that really work out. Like you want to keep them, right? And for seasonal businesses, that's a huge challenge.
Yeah, good for you. No, it's I always like hearing how you figure out the minutia, and snow plowing being usually the go-to. Yeah. But I mean, snow plowing is a different breed, obviously, because it's, first of all, it's equipment.
Yeah.
It's very intense. The insurance are through the roof.
Insurance is,
and you never know when you're working.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's a huge part of it too. You can you either want snow, you don't want snow,
right?
And the insurance is a massive part of it. Huge expense.
Yeah, and I think we did snow contracts years ago, and you could probably count 8 to 12 outings in a season. That was kind of what that was.
Yeah.
But you could have one where you're out for 2 days straight. Or you could, do a full 3 weeks where you don't go out.
Yep.
But then you hit years where you have a ton of ice and pellets, whichever. Then you're salting, and it's a whole different ball game. And it's not easy for sure. So good on you. Yeah. So you began. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's always been a focus on higher end outdoor living spaces, and like how does one look at that work and turn it into an investment? Like from your standpoint, you go in and you do outdoor living spaces based on what people want, but what recommendations do you make to clients and say, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, there's more of an impact for valuation for the property, because obviously that plays a big role. These services are not cheap. But then obviously you can have a significant return on the value of the property. So what does that look like when somebody is embarking on that journey with you?
Yeah, I think a good part of it is doing the essentials. Mm-hmm. You need a good driveway, you need a good walkway, some sort of space in the back for entertainment. A lot of that extra stuff, sometimes it's not really the best investment. It's sometimes I think it's those want to haves, and that's great for when you're there. But I think the right way to go about it is probably assuming that you're not going to get that money back for some of those things. I think that's the best way to do it.
Right.
I'm doing this fire pit and the big massive pergola. You got to be doing that for you, not thinking down the road that you're going to get some money back for that.
Okay.
I think and what we've seen, especially with swimming pools lately, they're a major investment. And what I've seen is it may not be getting that full, back in the next, if you're selling 5-10 years. Mm-hmm. We had, on an average year, we get about 2 to 3 inquiries for in-ground pool, like filling in, like demolition. This year we got 25 leads for that.
What?
We don't advertise it. We don't say anything on our website, anything for it. We had 25 people call us, and they're massive jobs too, just to fill in, decommission the pool. If that pool's 30, 40 years old, it's probably just as much to fill it in than it was to get the pool 30, 40 years ago.
No, I believe it.
So it's that investment, that's got to be for you, I think.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just in terms of real estate. But to go back to the question, you need like a good walkway, a good patio, and like putting the money in to make sure it's well built and the foundation's there. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between most people can make your interlock look nice on top, but if you don't have a base under it, you really didn't buy much.
No, a couple of years and it's all going wonky and we have to redo it. So yeah. No, that's that, and I love that you're saying that, because in the world of real estate, in many cases, somebody wants to sell their house and they have a pool, And they'll say, oh, is this worth more with the pool? And it depends on the buyer.
Exactly.
If somebody wants a pool, then they may see value in the fact that you have a pool. But if somebody doesn't want a pool, that actually could be a deterrent to buy your house.
It can be.
And obviously what you just pointed out there, just the cost of decommissioning that pool is so substantial that, as you mentioned at the forefront, it's really a spend that you're doing because you want that.
Yeah.
Not because you're not doing it to get a return on investment or, increase the value of the property.
Yeah.
So having the basics, I think, is based on what you're saying, having the basics and having a good solid foundation are the types of work that would get the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Type of deal. So
that's your investment side. Everything else, I think that's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things too with outdoor living spaces and doing this type of work is and I'll speak for myself because I was, anytime I do any of that, I want something that's low maintenance.
Yes.
You did work for me. You did. We took out a pool at my house many years ago.
Yep.
And you came in and redid the backyard.
Exactly.
And I just wanted low maintenance. I didn't want to have to do more because it's so busy. We have a family and so on. So somebody who's hiring you or asking you to come in and give you recommendations, what tips would you give them in terms of the work that they should be doing to keep the maintenance low?
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of landscaping, there are hardscape areas and then there's the softscape areas. So your hardscapes, your interlock, turf, if you're doing artificial turf, it can kind of be categorized as hardscape. Mm-hmm. And then your softscape, meaning your gardens and your grass. A lot of people are really adverse, don't like cutting grass. And so my mindset kind of is, if you're pulling out the lawnmower and you got the work to do, doing, say, half your lawn in a garden isn't going to necessarily save you time because you still have to...
It's worse.
you still have to take out that mower. What I tell people is like, you're still taking out the mower. Yeah. Keep as much lawn as you possibly can because that's easier to maintain than doing a garden.
No doubt.
If you have a garden, you can do your geotextile and your mulch and everything, but everyone asks for a no maintenance or low maintenance garden. Just doesn't exist.
That's right. There's still a maintenance aspect to it. Yeah, that is tough to do.
Yeah, and plants are plants. They need care. They planting native species, and that's becoming more and more popular, which is great. So it's planting the plants that are designed over time to be in this area. They survive the best over things that
native
are brought in.
Species. That's interesting.
Yeah. So.
So what is that? Sorry, pardon my ignorance. Yeah.
If you go for a walk in the Gatineau Park and everything, what is actually just living and growing in that area, planting those types of plants in your yard.
Okay.
So, versus in most garden centers, we'll have like a native plant section that's kind of separate from everything else because it is a growing kind of trend that's out there.
And do those tend to be less maintenance or about the same?
Less maintenance, and they're used to our weather conditions.
Okay.
Right? They're really acclimatized to the zone that we're in.
Okay. So so you're not worried about getting them dying prematurely or
exactly.
Stuff,
and they're better at giving back to the natural ecosystem. Right? So they're pollinators and insects and birds and everything that's in our area are accustomed to those types of plants. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it helps with maintenance, and then like I said, keeping grass I think is good. If you're pulling out the lawnmower, whether you got 10 square feet or 20 or 100, you're still pulling out that lawnmower.
That's right. Yeah, and as you mentioned, mowing lawn as opposed to de-weeding and manicuring your plants is not the same attention to detail. So
Yeah, and then with the interlock stone, the polymeric sand, which is what goes in between all the stones, that's come a long way in the last little while in terms of now the products that are used last way longer. You see old driveways that are interlocked and it's just weeds everywhere.
Yeah.
The sand, the joint filler that used to be used was pretty much just sand. So that's why you get the weeds, and it's a lot to clean it all out and reset it with the newer material. But once that's done, it's much more lower maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. And then when somebody's looking at doing some work at the property. And I mean, I'll speak for people who invest in real estate. In many cases, we want low maintenance, clearly, because in most cases the tenants don't pay as much attention to the outdoor spaces as some owners would like.
Definitely.
So you're trying to keep the low maintenance, but then it also is a balancing of like, how do you, like, from a budget standpoint, like the biggest bang for the buck. So if somebody's looking at doing work around the house, they want to redo their walkway. They want to redo, their stairs or the back space or whichever. In terms, and then somebody wants, to be budget friendly, as opposed to, I want to go ahead and I'm going to be living here for 10 years, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So what recommendations would you make for somebody to remain budget friendly, but still get something that's going to last and stay, fairly low maintenance?
Yeah. With a lot of what we do, landscaping, it's expensive. And it is, like I was kind of talking about earlier, it's, in a lot of ways, sometimes it's a luxury service, realistically.
Yeah.
Again, there's the essentials, and then there's like the nice to haves.
Yep.
With that, like a big area that's always kind of a sore point for a lot of people is the area between two homes. So you have, say, 6, 8, maybe 10 feet between the two houses. And sometimes there's a walkway or it's just grass, and people don't want it to be grass, so they do like the river wash stone. And with the nice geotextile barrier and everything, it's going to last for a few years, but you will eventually get weeds because the seeds are just simply falling from the sky on top. Mm-hmm. And then we've seen it many, many times. A tenant may not be looking at that side of the yard if they don't use it to go to the backyard, let's say. So it then becomes full of weeds, and then it can get to a point where pulling the weeds isn't enough. All that river wash has to come out.
Yeah.
So we've started trying to talk people away from doing that, and going, if it's an area that there's no walkway, maybe it's the walkways on the other side of the house to get to the back, just going with like some hostas or ferns or something that you can plant, like a set it and forget it, and just kind of let that place area in the property take its own course. So that's a pretty low cost option too, is just throwing a few plants in.
Okay.
And then the rest. So one of the products in terms of interlock is going more towards like a larger format stone. And the nice thing about that is, again, it's less joints, so less potential for weeds and everything to grow through.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. And so to come back on your river wash stone, if you get weeds coming in, and obviously you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is crazy. So what would be the process typically? You remove the stones, you remove your what would those steps? I mean, I'm assuming you have to take everything out, restart, and then you put the stones back in?
So it depends. Like we've seen river wash stone that hasn't been touched or maintained in 10 years, and it's had leaves fall on it over winter and start to degrade. You get to a point where that geotextile that just had river wash on it now has like 2 inches of soil mixed in,
right?
Because everything's just been decomposing over time. At that point, like if it's a homeowner doing it and your time is free, you can take the river wash, put it on the driveway, be hosing it, cleaning it down.
Take the toothbrush out.
Stone by stone.
Cleaning every stone.
But, to be paying a company to do that, it's very labor intensive.
Yeah.
So when we come into situations like that, it's okay, do we just, bring it'll be used as clean fill on another property or infill lot or whatever, and, bring in just new river wash. Often, depending on how long it's been unkept for, that's your cheaper option. So
it becomes more of a labor efficiency type work as opposed to trying to maintain that, because the cleaning river wash that's been unattended to for several years,
that's a lot of work.
That could be rough. That's good point. And we read on your website too that obviously you guys, and we've seen that firsthand, that you emphasize quality control in the work that you do, and the certified trades that you bring on site, and and you have systems and frameworks that's always helped you continue to grow. And obviously for the last few years we've seen you grow. So what like what are those processes or new frameworks that you brought in that have helped you grow in the way that you have? Is it technology? Is it CRM? Is it a third party EA? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, definitely a mixture. So we're using some really nice CRMs now and things like and softwares for estimating that help us reduce a lot of time and effort and keep us organized. And then there's, the whole AI aspect of things that are making things a little bit faster and very confusing and learning things every day for that. But it's realizing that you need processes to grow and to stay consistent. Like you kind of talked about, starting the business, you have a technician type mindset. Like I went from I'm cutting lawns to now running a business that cuts lawns. In those first years, you're still the one doing it, or however long it takes you. But you need to realize that you need to pull yourself out of it and create that framework and those systems to get other people to do it.
And so those frameworks, like for us at DORE Property Management, that framework looks, we use a HubSpot CRM and the website runs off of it and the intake forms and all that. So and then obviously when it comes to phones, it's interesting you say that because we had a gentleman come in on the podcast from Scarlet Nova that offers fractional AI services, and we actually hired him and we're meeting him this week about taking advantage of certain AI offerings that may benefit us. And so for you, when you mention AI, is like, so if somebody calls your firm, is that like, how does that handle? Is still somebody answering? Is it AI? Is it a third party? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, still us answering it. So it's myself and an assistant doing that. From there, we've got quite a few kind of not AI, but automations in terms of, inquiry comes in, it's all added into our CRM. Everyone's info goes all over the place. We're not entering all that data all the time anymore, but we set up a quick virtual consult. So it's a phone call just to learn more about the project someone has, and we tell them a bit more about what we do.
So when you say virtual consult, you mean you're not on site yet?
Not on site yet.
This is really just a call or a virtual call about what they're calling about?
What they're calling about.
Good for you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
is that virtual? Is that involve them giving you pictures of what they're looking for? It's really just a verbal.
Yeah. So it depends on the project, but usually, especially with landscaping, Google Maps, we can see someone's property very quickly and very well. So with that, and then some photos for most projects, we're able to, then jump on a call, whether it's a Zoom call or virtual or video call or a phone call, and talk through their project, but also to tell them what to expect the next steps to be. Okay. Because, as most of our inquiries come in through our website, not everyone's reading a full website in detail.
No doubt.
They're going to that contact form and sending some info. So
I'm curious. See if it jives with us, because it's interesting that I'm hearing you say this. So this virtual component of doing that virtual call before going on site, if you go on site, because obviously you can have that discussion and it doesn't connect.
Exactly.
So when did that start for you?
So we kind of started doing that last year, and we really implemented it this year. Like,
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
A massive part of my, especially spring, is just going to consults. Like
virtual or actually on site?
So that was back when I was doing on site, and I'm driving, 4 hours a day, like inside of Ottawa.
I know.
To go to all these different houses. Yeah. And sometimes you meet with someone and you know instantly that this isn't a job for us, and you've wasted your time, but you've also wasted that client's time.
No doubt.
So doing that virtual call, and we've had really good feedback. We weren't sure. We're kind of taking that leap of faith doing it.
What was the trigger to try that?
The trigger to try it was last year, who was helping in the office and did a lot of our design work. He wanted to do something new, so he moved on in the fall. And being, and we can talk about Mike McAlliffe later.
Absolutely.
Being that bottleneck and that kind of mindset, I was like, I can do his job and my job. It'll be fine. It'll still work. And I was a huge bottleneck for the business this year.
We're so the same. It's crazy. We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah. So it took finally hiring a new admin who's been fantastic for the business, and I'm now not as big of a bottleneck.
Yeah.
But this spring I was doing those basically two people's full-time jobs, and I was just not able to keep up.
What made you realize that you were the bottleneck?
I knew, I knew the whole time.
Okay, no, fair. Some people know, and some people don't know, and then it's interesting how everybody comes to that realization differently.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, no,
I've been called a bottleneck more times than I'd like to admit. So.
Coming to that realization and learning about business and everything, you're like, you don't have to do everything,
right?
And who do you think you are to think everything should go through you?
Exactly, we're all the same, eh?
Yeah.
But I'm happy to hear you say that, because a lot of times people either don't realize that, or they don't care. They just want to be that, and then you can't grow, you can't scale, you can't do anything, right? So
exactly.
It was interesting when we adopted virtual. It's so funny, virtual calls. I remember there's a gentleman I was dealing with in 2019, and anyways, we were doing some consultancy work, and he wanted to do virtual call, and I bucked so hard, because I'm like, no, if I can't meet you face to face, like, forget it. And that was my attitude, like. And because I'm big on relationships, I like to meet people, try to get an understanding of, a really right fit. Is this, how can I help you? How can you help me? And that type of stuff. So finally, I got to introduce, this relationship, face to face. But then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in property management, we found ourselves in a position where we were considered an essential service, because there's people moving in and out of units, and there's emergency calls, you need to deal with it.
Yeah.
But you want to be safe. And how do you keep people safe? Not just us, but the people that live in the properties and the vendors and all that. So it forced us to either do virtual calls, virtual everything, virtual showings. So somebody wants to see a house, we'd be like, hey, we take our iPhones, we go at the house, and we do, we show you the house live. What do you want to see? As opposed to meeting them on site, and then the move in, move outs. All of a sudden, we used to meet people, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, how are we going to do that? So be done so-called virtually, where somebody would go on site, but then we put a system in place to exchange keys where there was nobody talking or nobody meeting face to face.
Yeah.
But COVID for us was and then we adopted the electronic signatures and all these good things listen, I would have been the one stopping it.
Right.
Because I believed in the relationship, but then COVID kind of pushed us to say, well, you got to operate. So if you don't make use of these technologies, then you're going to suffer.
Exactly.
But thankfully, the team, we've embraced it, and we've never let go then, because it becomes so much more efficient. So I can put myself in your shoes. If you got 4, 5, 6 quotes to do today, and you're able to get on virtual calls, there's no traffic.
Yeah.
Right? There's no potential of breakdown, vehicle usage, and you hit it earlier too, whereas you can meet somebody and then realize this is not for you, or they are not, it doesn't work. That you could have resolved that in a virtual call that could have taken 15 minutes, as opposed to, you investing 2 hours in gas and time and everybody's time, right? So
exactly.
So good on you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a really good change for us, and with it too is, we in our virtual calendar, like, someone could book later in the day with us. Versus oftentimes if it's an in-person quote, it might be a few days out. So you're hitting that customer and getting through the process a lot faster.
Yeah.
A lot of times if we are, it's the right client, right project, everything works out from that virtual call, we're then going to go in person and everything. But you're checking a lot of those boxes before having to do that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah,
and
so
when and you kind of hit it before too, where you're like, I don't know if how people are going to take this, but I think from a standpoint of the other person, knowing before they commit to anything, that they can, who am I going to deal with? How what kind of discussion? And as you mentioned earlier, not everybody will go through a website and read everything and get a full understanding what it involves, and deposits and expectations and timeframes and all that good stuff. So for you to be able to kind of iron that out before you meet them on site is is a big stumbling block to remove out of the way. And heaven forbids it doesn't work, then you didn't drive, you didn't do anything. So good on you. And then you talked a bit about AI. Is there any AI component that happens after the fact? Because the quotations, obviously somebody has to go on site, but
nothing right now. Okay. We're actually working. My brother-in-law is doing very similar to, you said it, like a fractional AI. So he's working on that kind of stuff right now. His knowledge level of AI is way above mine. And so we're working on something right now. There's a lot of websites out there that you can design your landscaping and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're trying to embrace that and incorporate that into our website. But it'll help you to not only design, but to then it's giving like a ballpark price using our products, our kind of projections. So our clients can visualize their space with the products that are available. Because a lot of those AI things, you can see something really nice, but you're like, okay, well, that's porcelain and like that's not going to work. That's a palm tree in your front yard. You're not going to have that here.
Serve Florida yet.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out and make it so that it's actual products that we use, and then giving that price estimation so they can get a ballpark price before even talking to anybody.
Good for you.
Which should, I think, be really cool for people.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. One of the things that we had noticed in the property management company when we were dealing with new investor clients, obviously, one of the main questions was, can you serve this type of property and what are the costs? Yeah. And it's every time we always kind of want to get a sense of where they are and that type of stuff before you answer that, because sometimes you're like, this doesn't work for us, or maybe we're not the right fit, or whichever. So what we did, as in somewhat similar to what you did, is we set up a system on our website where somebody can just request a quote, and it asks some basic questions. First of all, about the location, make sure this is a location we can serve, type of properties, how many doors, that type of stuff, and then it submits them a quote that's generic, that they can, this is approximately what this would look like. Yeah. And then they can, if you want to bring it out to the next step, have a discussion, great, we can have a discussion. If not, then no harm done. And nobody's wasted any time doing that, right?
Which is huge.
Like for you, it's always that this is always the case where we deal with a lot of contractors, but it's one thing to send somebody on a job and actually do the work, and somebody to send somebody on a job to look at quoting and potentially and doing that, because that there's no money. There's no, the person that's doing that, if they're the ones doing the work and doing that, then every second day they're not getting paid.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So if you can try to figure out a way to minimize that time, and then make sure that every time somebody goes on site, they're actually making something happen. Like for you as a business owner, those are huge friction points that you can remove that makes you significantly more productive. So good for you. Yeah, good for you. So that's I look forward to seeing that website.
Yeah, it's coming together pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. So one of the questions I always like to ask is, obviously we deal mostly with the investor space, so maybe we can speak to that specifically. But when somebody reaches out to you, somebody like us that owns rental properties and investment properties, we reach out to you. What do you see as the most common mistakes that we would make in requesting your services? Is it we're requesting the wrong work, we're at the wrong product, wrong time frame? Like what do you see as if I could tell them they should do this or that? Like what suggestions would you make to people like us?
Yeah, should I say Doré doesn't make any mistakes?
Yeah, but then they know we paid you a lot of money to say that.
There you go. Yeah. In terms of landscaping, like the biggest mistake, we kind of mentioned it earlier, is I would say the river wash. We see it so many times, and just like, we don't want to maintain areas. Like landscaping needs maintenance, right? Whether it's lawns, interlock.
That's a good point. Yep.
Even pools, especially. Yeah. Everything needs maintenance. Yep. And I think setting that expectation with tenants of saying like, here's the property. This is kind of, I don't know if setting sort of expectations for that is possible, because you see properties that are beautifully maintained, and then there's some that we had got into. For example, we did a project in my first year We were talking about, right project, right client. I didn't know how to say no in my first year. So
we've all learned about that. Yeah.
Like we went into a backyard. Their dog they hadn't cleaned up after the dog in years. And we did a project for them that was very interesting in terms of
muddy?
Layout. Yeah. Well, it was first thing in the spring too. So muddy. But like interesting layout, interesting like everything. Like now I have the experience to say like, no, don't do that.
That's right.
But we did it, and the last day he's super happy. He's giving us the check. He goes, the landlord's gonna love this once I show him. And I thought, oh, you don't own this property.
Oh, wow.
And he did, like, he spent a good amount of money doing, like, really interesting things to the property. And I was, like, really taken back by that. I was like, oh, I didn't know anyone would ever consider doing this.
That's
and
right.
They don't own
That's
it.
uncommon.
Yeah. It was a big surprise.
Yeah.
And, really, really taken back by that.
Yeah, I would say in most cases, we don't want to generalize, but the vast majority of people who rent properties don't expect to have a significant responsibility to obtain, to maintaining, an extravagant landscape.
Yeah.
So we always advise, when somebody is taking on a property or thinking of doing projects to, better the exterior, to keep in mind, as you mentioned earlier, perhaps more grass, less plants type of deal.
Yeah.
And low maintenance, just because the reality is that a lot of times when people, they look at it, when they see it, it's nice. They love it. It's so beautiful. It's great, but they don't realize the amount of work that's involved in maintaining it, right? So when you have, especially for investment properties, you try to keep it as low maintenance as possible, unless you have this need or inclination to go overboard, which is typically not something that we would do in investment properties. But so I can see. It's funny you mentioned that about the pets and defecation and all that. But funny, the other day I saw, this is because I just laughed but there's a company that offers services just to pick up poop.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, that's a business. Okay, I guess it's more common than but their business is to pick up poop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's interesting because with doing lawns, the cost and the travel time of going, from job to job, and to think that I don't know how much people are paying for that, but just to pick up poop is
No,
crazy.
Listen,
it's a whole business.
I think everything's funny, but that I thought really funny.
Yeah.
That I'm like, wow, is it business? You can do that? That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's demand for everything, so that's good. One of the things that we saw is also one of the top voices you listen to or books you've read is from Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah.
And I laugh because I read the book Profit First as well. You mentioned Clockwork. I haven't read it, but tell me a bit about that. How do you get to know him, and how did you apply the stuff in his books?
Yeah. So I'm not the biggest reader, but I'm a big Audible guy. Mm-hmm. Especially driving around all day, going to all those consults for years, just constantly listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, and just stumbled upon Mike Michalowicz, and I think Profit First was the first one I listened to.
Yeah.
And then he's got like 6 or 8 books, and they're all fantastic.
Yeah, they're easy reads as well. Yeah, they're pretty, like, for people entrepreneurs, you appreciate what's in it for sure.
Yeah, and he's he for the audiobooks, he reads them himself, and he's constantly going on tangents and stuff like that aren't in the book. So it's really good to listen.
Hence the reason why I put a timer here. Right? I mentioned at the beginning. Mike says, "Dan, you gotta keep it tight." But sorry. Yeah.
So Clockwork was a big one, and it was realizing it's about making your business run like clockwork without you. And so realizing a lot of things, if you're involved in way too many things, your business isn't going to be smooth and operating and efficient and making money, and your clients may not be the happiest. And so it's about learning how you're the bottleneck and how the steps to remove yourself and to grow your business, really. It's very, I think, easy to get caught up in it, in terms of just,
No doubt.
yeah, because you take on, oh yeah, I've done this before, I can do it, and then realizing, okay, well, there's like so many tasks I'm supposed to be maintaining right now, and like this spring again, I was kind of doing like 2 people's jobs, and just I was in it, and I was just like, okay, if I keep my head down and just go, I'll be able to get out, see the light on the other end, and just wasn't able to. Like I was becoming such a big bottleneck.
Interesting.
And so hiring. I needed to hire was number one, and then getting back into the groove with all those systems that we had, and removing yourself from especially those like day-to-day tasks. That's and then Profit First is a fantastic book as well.
Yeah, Profit First. I haven't read the other one. I read the one for Profit First several years ago. Now, a couple of things that came to mind is obviously he had built several businesses, but he's always, a lot of money's turning, but there's no money at the end. You only make money when he would sell the business. And I guess one of them went sideways, and he had money problems, and his daughter opened his piggy bank and offered him money. Yeah, and how crazy that was for him to go through that. Yeah, and then realizing that reinvesting in your company is kind of a lazy way to look at it, because you're not paying attention to what's happening, right? So it's and I like, there's a concept. I think there's a concept where you kind of like, when you go through a profit and loss, you essentially take a GL item as that's a profit that needs to happen. Everything else comes afterwards. All your expenses comes afterwards. You treat it. Instead of putting your profit at the end, you put it at the beginning, and then you use the rest of your expenses. I thought it was a really good way to look at it. Yeah, it actually made me make some changes when I read the book. I'm like, that's interesting to think about. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a whole different mindset, like paradigm shift in terms of thinking about money and your finances for your business. Yeah, good for you. I remember, because again, starting zero business knowledge experience, I brought my everything to my accountant for the first time. And he's like, "Oh, you have some profit," and I'm like, "But did you see the bank? The bank's empty. So how do I have profit?" Well, that's a common thing. Yeah. Right? Because your profit's attached in the inventory or your vehicles, or you've paid down something, but you're like, I have no money, but I'm asset rich and cash poor. Exactly. Right? So we're working with we have a fractional CFO now. Okay, good for you. That's been huge for us. Is that new? Yeah. Yeah, that's new. December of last year. Who was he? His name is Walid Dumiati. Okay. He's in Ottawa. Nice. Fantastic. Okay. It's really, really changed things for us. What role does he play in the realm of? He's obviously not doing bookkeeping. Yeah, not doing bookkeeping. Our bookkeeper, he works directly with our bookkeeper. Sure. And so they send him all the reports. We sit down, look at cash flow, and that's his biggest thing. Is he's like, what's going to drive your business is not what your profit is; it's what your cash flow is. Right. Exactly. So we've been working with him, and it's been fantastic for us. Yeah. When you can recognize the difference between net worth and cash flow, and what it really does. And it's funny, a gentleman, a successful businessman, I've been talking for years, and at one point he says, he says his wife would call it, because he would always boast about his net worth, and she says, yeah, but is that IGA money, right? Can I actually buy groceries with that type of deal, right? It's the difference between cash flow and say, oh, great, yeah, you're on paper, you're worth this, but you have no money, to do anything, right? So, but I think a lot of business go through that until you recognize the difference and are able to be strategic about being careful about that, and then capitalizing on what needs to do. So I think the Profit First book from Mike McCallowich, I think is a really good read on that part. So definitely, yeah. I laughed when I saw that. That was good stuff. So no, this is good, Griffin. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Yeah. So. It's great to have you on. Obviously, we're happy. We've been working together, and you've been. It's so funny. Just before the podcast, I was like, "Oh, you do this," and you're like, "Yeah, we got 3 jobs with you." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know." so I'm like, this just shows how the team is good. Exactly. Obviously, they had jobs I didn't even know that we were dealing through your services. So that's awesome. So, clockwork. Yeah. Clockwork. Exactly. So anybody who wants to reach out to you. I think the best its website is getkozy.ca. Is that accurate? That's it. Yeah. And you mentioned at the beginning, Kozy Landscaping, there may be an evolution to...
Yeah, rebranding more as just Kozy and Kozy Group.
Okay.
We had, when we started doing the renovations and we were still Kozy Landscaping, we heard someone comment, like, why is a landscaping company, going and doing a renovation in your basement? So, we knew the name change had to happen.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, we did a similar thing where DORE Property Management, in many of the logos, we removed property management because we're involved in sales and development and all these good things. So it's not just property management.
Yeah.
So I understand the the evolution. So good for you.
Exactly.
And any social media links that you want to share that for people to reach out if ever they have... want to learn more about you?
Instagram is Kozy Group, and then Facebook is Kozy Group as well.
Okay.
So we're starting to pick that up again. I think I'm not huge on Instagram personally, but for the business, it's nice to people to be able to see what we're doing.
I think it's awesome, and there's so much people that pay attention that I think. And especially with landscaping, be able to show, or even pool installation or renovations, be able to show the before and after.
Very visual.
Good for you. Good for you. So, and to all the listeners, thanks for listening to another episode of the DORE Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, so you never miss another one of our conversations. So I'm Dan Doré. Until the next time, have a good week. Thank you.